aren't too many times on Genesis Does where I'm going to tell you to straight up bootleg a game. Usually I'll say something like, try before you buy, especially if it's an expensive game. But in the case of Blockbuster World Video Game Championship 2, you can't buy it. Don't even think about it. I've only seen 5 copies go up for sale over the last decade. The last one was in 2015, and it went for $2,500. In private sales, they've reportedly fetched as much as $8,000 to $10,000. So, long story short, you can't buy it even if you want to, and even if you could, you're probably not going to have enough money to scrape together to spend anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 on one cartridge. But why is Blockbuster World Video Game Championship 2 so expensive? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, this contest in 1995 had 2 different cartridges. One that was a variant of Donkey Kong Country made by Rare for Super Nintendo. Contestants could actually win the Donkey Kong Country competition cartridge. It's still rare, don't get me wrong. It's just not super rarefied rare like the other one made by Acclaim for Sega Genesis. As you can see, this one has watered down, abbreviated versions of NBA Jam and Judge Dredd. Now, Acclaim's position on this was, we are only making this cartridge for the competition. Nobody is supposed to have it. Destroy it when the competition is over. Despite that admonition from Acclaim, a few copies did circulate that weren't destroyed. Maybe Blockbuster employees kept them for themselves. Maybe somebody at Acclaim leaked them to friends. Maybe they just weren't returned when somebody used them for the competition and they disappeared under mysterious circumstances. But as a result, there are a few out there, one of which was dumped and you can find it on the internet. The rest are in private collector hands. And as a result, I say, feel free to try this ROM if you find it online, because for love or money, you can't buy it. It just isn't possible to do. You might find somebody making a reproduction somewhere out there, but in that case, I would tell you not to buy it because Acclaim is not getting their license fees for that reproduction. The owners of the intellectual property in these games are not getting their fees for a reproduction. You're actually better off playing a bootleg ROM of this than paying for a reproduction, because that's somebody actually profiting off something that's not theirs to sell. I'm not saying theft is right when there's no monetary value, but I am saying it's wrong to sell something that has value that you don't have the rights to sell. Furthermore, what is a reproduction going to look like when there are only a handful of cartridges out there, none of which have a box and manual? If somebody prints one up that way, it's just going to be their best guess of what a boxed edition of it would look like without any original source material to go after. They may not even have an authentic scan of how the original label on the competition cartridge looked to base a label on, and that may be their best guess at what it should look like or would look like without any actual reference material to source to make it look right. So there's no way a reproduction is going to be either legal or accurate or in any way turned over to the actual people who deserve to make the profit from that. So play this one on your emulator or EverDrive or analog Mega SG of choice and enjoy it for what it is. Stripped down, very short versions of NBA Jam and Judge Dredd. You get a score for each game based on how well you did in the game, and then the scores are combined together, and at the end you get a screen telling you what your total score was, which presumably would have been compared to whoever else was in the competition. The way I understand that it worked was that individual Blockbuster stores around the country, and for those of you not as old as I am who don't remember what Blockbuster is, they were a store where you would go to rent VHS tapes. Yes, that's how long ago Blockbuster was. Video rentals. See Cinemassacre for more about that. But along with VHS tapes, they had Genesis games, NES games, N64 games, And for a while in the 2000s, until they really died out, they even had DVDs. Anyway, when you would go to your local Blockbuster, they would have a competition in the store, and whoever won that competition would move on to a regional final, and then whoever moved on from the regional finals would play in the championship to win whatever prize Blockbuster was giving away. I don't know if it was like a cash prize or some sort of scholarship, maybe. I don't know what the prize was. Some of those details seem to have been lost to time. But the memory of playing the championship competition carts remained, and like I said, a few of them managed to survive. Donkey Kong Country more so than the Acclaim cartridge, but they're both out there and they've both been dumped. And let me just add, if you already own NBA Jam or Judge Dredd or both, you really can't feel bad about this anyway, because as I do, I own both of those. In fact, I own 2 copies of NBA Jam, so you've already paid for the full versions of those games, and this ain't even that cheap. Like, NBA Jam is timed to just a few minutes. Judge Dredd has a counter in the upper left-hand corner that tells you how many seconds you have left. So you're only going to get so far, figuratively and literally, playing these games. Once the time runs out, your score is your score, your experience is your experience, and you're done. And that's it, and there's nothing else you can do. In fact, when it gives you the score, the combined total score at the end, there's not even an option to reset the game or start over. I guess that was to prevent people from cheating in the competition. It would just lock on that screen and you couldn't do anything with the controller to make it start over. And if they saw you reaching up and pressing the reset button, they would know you were up to something. Only a store employee, I would presume, would be the one to hit the reset or flip the power switch off and on to restart the game. They wouldn't let anybody in the competition actually do that. And that makes sense. I understand that, but it's a really underwhelming experience when you get to the end like this and you just get a static screen with your total score, and that's it. You can't restart it with the controller. You can't do anything. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. This has been the Blockbuster World Video Game Championship 2 on Genesis Does, a game which I actually encourage you to play in emulation with the ROM of your choice on the device of your choice, because you can't buy it, you won't buy it, and quite frankly, you shouldn't buy it, because it's just tiny versions of otherwise full and complete games. So why would you even spend $10,000 for half-assed versions of NBA Jam and Judge Dredd? In fact, even calling them half-assed might be generous.